All right. I'd like to make sure we're back up before we start. I don't see it. Can you confirm that we are live? Because I cannot.
Yeah, I'm checking it out.
I
It
think
says
we
we're
are.
live. All right.
Sure, we're back up before we start.
Yep, we're good. We're good, Matt.
All right, cool.
Ready to record whenever you are.
Here we go. Three. Are you leading in?
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
Three, two.
All right. We are coming off a 15-point victory in Nashville, Tennessee, the home of where Matt lives. We just beat Vanderbilt 80-65, a beatdown. That score's probably even tighter than it really was the entire time on a night where Jalen Williams was perfect in almost every single way, and definitely in the way of the box score. And Matt got to see it in person. Matt, how was it?
It was a lot of fun, Jackson. We're having fun. No, it was great. He played awesome. The whole team played great. I mean, I think seeing them in person, fortunately, all four of us have gotten to see them in person at different points this year, and they play so connectedly. And it was great to see Auburn jump out early, take care of business. It got really weird. The SEC refs, man, I got a whole rant I'll do later when you're not on here, but uh 17-point lead at halftime. I think we were up 7-0 right out of the gate. It was a great and to exercise and before people like poo-poo Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt's bad. Like the history says, I know you don't always care about pre-Bruce history, but even during Bruce's era, this has not been a friendly place to us. And to go in there and just kind of win ho hum is not something we should take for granted.
Be fair, I care a lot about pre-Bruce history. We've had on a lot of great old players and a lot of old coaches. I care a lot about. What I don't care about is like all these stats are like they've been bad for so long and this streak or that. I was like, yep, I know. We've been bad forever. That's why it's so cool that we're not anymore. But yeah, man, there's a lot of stats being thrown around about how bad we played in Memorial Coliseum for decades now. And you're right, even with Bruce, we've lost an incredible amount. I think someone even said maybe that we only won 3 games ever or 3 games in the last 20 years or something like that in Vanderbilt, was just insane. But yeah, we just beat them down tonight on a weird court and don't take these for granted. Every away win, no matter how good we are and how bad the other team is a huge success. You always shoot worse, the refs get weird, the crowds get into it. It's always like that in the SEC. And tonight we jumped out to a big lead, shot well to start the first half, and by the time the referees decided that they were going to SEC away game referee, the game was already over, and you barely noticed it.
It was beautiful, and you have to have been watching for a while to really appreciate the beauty of it. I have to tell this story. My dad had never been in that Coliseum, and he was with me. And I was getting one of my other friends in, and he had gone to the bathroom, and I'd given him his section and row and everything. He's like, "Man, this place is confusing." And if you've been there, you know what you're talking about. It's a weird place. It was great to see us. We were behind the Auburn bench. Great to see the guys great to see Bruce, man. Bruce, I don't know how he didn't get a technical a couple of times, literally like on the court during transition, which we hate when other coaches do it, but it's fine when Bruce does.
Well,
Just
and when it's in this weird court, because you're probably about to say, but like they're along the baseline, the coach is so weird. I saw it on TV once or twice too. He's like cutting the corner off, kind of like he's
yeah,
going to the other side of the sideline. Honestly, any other court, I'd be like, oh no, please don't do something like that. But this one, I'm like, screw you guys, get a freaking normal court already. Like I feel like it's allowed for this one.
it's true. You gotta. So there was like 6 inches of snow in Nashville the last few days, and that definitely, just to give people an idea, it was probably 35 or 40% full, the whole Coliseum. And then, but I would say out of the people who were there, I mean, it had to have been 2/3 to 3/4 Auburn people. So like great turnout for a weeknight, 8 o'clock in the snow. Kind of had a feeling it would be that way because of just, Auburn people have been looking forward to this game, especially locals. Whereas if you're a Vanderbilt fan, Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the snow for an 0-3 team in the conference, like, maybe not. So I hope that came through on TV. Did it seem
Oh, yeah, really well. In the second half, there was a couple great shots. Clearly, the ESPN cameraman was doing a thing. They were really like trying to get that moment, which I just love when they understand to get a moment. And our the Auburn fans are mostly behind one goal from what I can tell. The one behind the
Hmm.
play behind the coaching staff and everything.
Yeah.
And there was a great like put back dunk kind of thing that Cardwell did where he didn't really finish a dunk, but it went in and he had his hands up doing his usual like give it to me crowd. And you could just it was a great right behind the back shot to see the whole Auburn crowd clapping having a good time. You would think it's an Auburn home game if you didn't know any better.
That was the moment. He reared back for what would have been one of those season-ending dunks for somebody's life, and he ended up banking it in. It was kind of weird, but like it was a crazy. It got literally got people off their, you
You
know.
gotta love the aggressiveness from several of our players now. Cardwell had a night, his best night ever, and he's only still overshadowed by another guy that had an even better best night ever. But that going for that dunk from like the free throw line from Cardwell, you would not have seen that in the past years. He's so confident right now. Same with Chad Baker Mazar's gone after some of those. Jalen's gone after some of those. KD went after one of those. And we expect that from KD. And then even Aiden in this game. Now, these didn't all happen in the same game, but all those players at some point this season went for a bring down the house dunk that would just murder the other team. Now, they haven't all got them. Cardwell's was too far away, but it still went in. And then Aiden's night tried a three from like half court, where I think we'd hit a couple threes in a row. And it looked like, man, if Aiden, he got like a ball pass out of basically like half court. And any other time, I would have said, what an awful shot to take. But because of the way the game was flowing, I was like, yeah, you shoot that because if it goes in, you can just pack up the game.
Yes, yes. It did feel like we were very confident and aggressive, and I feel like so many times in this Coliseum, like that just hasn't been the case. And I think you made a good point about jumping on them and getting in a position where when it tightened up and when it got weird, it always seems to, people were mad about giving up some of the lead against LSU, and it was weird. But if you watch enough of these games, it just always happens. You can almost bank on it. But when you've got, a 17, and I think at one point it was 22, 24 point lead, well, that makes things a lot better, and you can deal with the annoyance. Do you have any? I mean, I was reading the text as I was watching. Obviously, Dylan Cardwell played a tremendous game in 15 minutes, 12.6 rebounds. He made 4 shots and 4 for 4 from the line, which if Ben was here, we would single-handedly just give him the MVP. But I don't I don't see how it's not Jalen Williams. But
Oh yeah, I mean it's just sad for Dylan that he had such an amazing game the same time someone had a literally perfect game. Dylan had a 9 out of 10 game for Jalen to have a 10 out of 10 game. But it's been fun to watch Cardwell. He's been so much more confident out there. The free throws, like you mentioned, is huge. The fact that he's hitting free throws now, no one's just gonna foul him coming through the lane if he keeps hitting free throws. And every game, a game like this, we had 4 of them, right? So it would have been a game if he'd missed all those, where he had 8 points, good rebounds, fun game, but not a 12-point game. Those 4 free throws take this game from like, oh wow, okay, to like, man, he is confident. I'm gonna gloat on you. So yeah, make your free throws. I heard somewhere potentially that he got a coach over the offseason to work on free throws and shooting. Did you hear about this or no?
I heard he'd been really working at it. I didn't know if it was with Coach Bowman, which great interview, by the way, that you had. Shout out to everybody. Please listen to that if you haven't already as we continue our coaching tour. Um, it shows. And then we were sitting right behind the goal, and even just his whole routine and the stroke on his free throws just looks so much better. And you have to give a credit, him and Janai together, if you combine, they had let's see, 27 and 18 in their 40 minutes of playing center tonight. I mean, that's tremendous production from both of them.
We've got some Redditors. Keep Cool Coolidge said, okay, or oh, so shooting perfectly is enough to win an MVP now? JK, but yes, Jay Will wins the MVP. Ribs and Whiskey says, I asked if we need to ask about who the MVP is, and he said, you don't. It's Jay Will. And Dylan was perfect from the line. So they get that Dylan got his too, and then Pocket Watches in the chat. I'm sure he would agree with us who the MVP should be. He said no respect for a decent bedtime. We are on very late right now because we were trying to get Matt in from being at Vanderbilt so he could gloat on his boy. So I'll let you go further on with MVP here. I'll go quickly through some other stuff, but Jalen's MVP, and I'll let Matt go in and in as soon as I hang up.
Well, yeah. The thing I would point out before you leave is this is the first time in our doing this podcast that something's happened, Jackson. This is not Jalen related. Okay, not Jalen related.
Okay.
Every single team stat, we always post this Justin Ferguson, stat box. We won every category.
Wow.
I do not remember ever seeing us win every single category, all the shooting stats
And away in the SEC.
away.
Insane. This team
Honestly,
is built different, man. It's tough. It's weird because we're not going to get the national love probably that we deserve because we don't have that star NBA draft pick number one. I mean, even tonight, maybe this is reading too much into it, but I saw I was just looking through the ESPN app. When you want to click on the Watch ESPN, Kentucky's has a little picture. Houston's has a little picture of a guy. You're clicking on like a person, but Auburn Vanderbilt is just the Auburn logo and the Vanderbilt logo. I was like, all right, I guess that's what happens when you're not Kentucky or Houston. You don't get the picture, you just get a logo. Now that might just be an SEC network thing or something. I don't know. But we don't have a star, and it's gonna be tough for people outside of maybe the college basketball diehards. I mean, there's like the CBS college basketball podcast that's good. John Rothstein's good. They'll probably talk about us. But the bigger national media, the ESPN and stuff, we don't have that number one draft pick for them to cover. And we're probably just
mhm.
going to keep flying under the radar, even if we keep blowing teams out. We keep having amazing stats. So we'll know how great we are, but it won't be getting the love.
Yeah, for sure. But that just I said at the beginning of the year, I was you can go back and listen to the tape. I was not as high on this team preseason. I just needed to see some of the parts come together. But I said something to the effect of I feel like this is a classic Bruce Pearl. Like no one's talking about it. We're picked sixth. It's just there's not a star player. Well, Auburn, whatever. And you can just tell. You could tell the way he was talking about he likes this team. I think he liked the potential, but I think he would even say they're ahead of schedule in terms of how well they're sharing the ball. I mean,
I mean, it shows
and,
for Cardwell. I mean, Cardwell's not getting like amazing jump shots or making his own moves. We're passing it so well that he's getting a lot of great open looks. And to be fair, he's so athletic that a lot of other guys would not have been able to finish with a dunk like he does a lot of times. And that's where he's really gotten so confident is that he's going through people to get those dunks he wouldn't have gotten in the past. But it all comes off the fact that we're having a really efficient offense. I mean, I asked Ira Bowman about it. I was trying to dig a little harder into like what is it? I mean, I know we're doing the 5-out offense. I know we have a good team that's got a lot of great chemistry. I know we have a lot of good players on this team, but there's something different about this offense. It's leading to a lot of great open looks for our centers, a lot of great open shots. I mean, there was another one tonight. I can't remember. Oh, it was CBM, I believe, where Denver got a rebound and then no, it was Jalen, actually. I don't know. It was Denver got like a rebound and then passed it back out the three line. Wide open guy, splash it. And that's the kind of stuff we just didn't get in past SEC away games. And now we're hitting all those. And I feel confident when I see an open three shooter, it's going to go in.
here's how you know you have a really good team. I said this to one of my friends I was with tonight. When we turn it over, it's like I'm disgusted. Like I can't believe we would dare. I mean, we kind of got sloppy and we had 10 turnovers. And that's a great number on the road in the SEC. We still won turnovers by one, which is probably a little disappointing. Bruce probably wishes we would have turned them over more than 11 times. But like I think you can argue the same thing for offensive possessions when a shot just gets put up. Like KD had a few of those. Not a great KD game tonight. I still don't think he massacred the game like maybe in the past he has. But when you see one of those possessions where it's a forced shot that's not off of ball movement, it's jarring. It's like, no, like that's not what we do. And that's because we've gotten so used to the way the ball is not sticking. It's so different from what we've seen in the last couple of years.
I mean, I know exactly the moment you're talking about because I texted about it too. There was like this, I can't remember exactly how it started, but there was like six passes, maybe super crisp all around the court, and the Vanderbilt could not keep up. And then they got to KD at the top of the 3-point line. And I get why he felt the need to take it a little bit because we'd already made like six amazing crisp passes. Like, surely it's time to shoot it now. Like, are you really going to take a risk on another seventh laser beam pass? But he should have taken the shot, but that's where it stuck, and he airballed the three, I believe, right after that. It was like, no, what amazing passing, and like crisp, and Vanderbilt's all over the court, and then he airballed the three to finish it.
I
But it's
mean,
not happening very often. It just happened that one time.
right. You really I think I'm noticing just how spoiled I am with the expectations. It's just pretty basketball, honestly. We've been saying how much fun we're having, but this team has something special. It's a rare combination of the depth and the selflessness. Like nobody on this team is really demanding theirs in a given half. Like we've seen Janai have 0 points multiple times in a half, and it doesn't affect his play. Jalen, we know, doesn't care. He doesn't have to shoot. KD, I think, has been much more disciplined
Oh yeah.
and less selfish.
He's been
with
our
his.
like captain on defense. Have you noticed that? He
Hmm.
kind of leads the way. He's pointing
Hmm.
at places for people to be. He's
Hmm.
really flying all over. He's getting some amazing strip steals. I mean, he's always been like that, but it
Yep.
seems like really next level now. That second line defense is so much fun to watch. And then it's also interesting, like we just keep winning in different ways,
Hmm.
And this one, because of the hype over the last couple of games of that second line coming in and playing such amazing defense and winning us games a lot of times, when they came in, I was hyped, so excited for the second line, and they didn't quite do what I thought they were going to do. We still beat the other team by 15 and went up by a lot at one point. And it wasn't because of the second line necessarily right then. I mean, Vanderbilt just hit some hard shots, honestly. And Trey got his pocket picked, which really sucked right there. But like, it's just so interesting that I want so badly for us to have a personality. Like if you've been listening for the last couple of years, you know how I love a good brand, how I love a good, it's like, that was my thing. And then we went a different way. So like really the brand right now is just that we keep winning different ways and depth is amazing. And it could be anybody, any night.
And you can't. I mean, yeah, we shot threes well in the first half. I think we were close to 50%. We end up at 32%, Jackson. It's not like we just shot the ball. And like you said, the
Well, I think down the stretch, just like last game, we started jacking up a couple threes. I don't think we would have taken if it wasn't like Broom took one in particular. I was like, you wouldn't have taken that if this was a close game. I know it.
but you still think like you're right. We keep winning. Isn't this like the ninth straight win by double digits or 10th straight or something crazy? Like
Yeah.
we're not really in a ton of close games. And like you said, it's a great point that we're winning different ways. And it just shows the versatility. And, Katie didn't have a great game tonight. And CBM, very average. But, like when you play 11 guys, you don't need, I mean, you're not going to have all guys every night. And that's the beauty of it, that you can have a Jalen Williams game. You can have you saw the flash of Aiden Holloway and how special he can be in spurts. You see Janai Broom there was a point in the second half. I don't know if I even noticed Janai, and he had 10 points and 9 rebounds. I mean, I was like,
He's definitely the guy on the team that always seems to get his, and that's
yeah,
exactly what we wanted Joe Knight Broom to be. And we have not had that guy in the last, I don't know. We have had the guy in some years, but like he's had some weird 0 point halves like you talk about, and you still look up and he just gets it in the second half. Yeah, that's like the like definition of the guy that gets his. Even when he goes 0.5, he still gets 15. Tonight, he still gets another 15, 12, something like that. Yeah, 15 exactly.
15 and
Like
12.
and he did it consistently throughout the game, but he's gonna get his 15.
It's crazy. If he got it tonight, I mean, I just didn't think. Now, hopefully, he's okay. There's a
Oh
whole
my God, don't scare. I was losing it for like 15 seconds there. Broom, like late in the game, went up for a shot, I believe, and like something happened to his knee, and he was like laying there like a typical guy that's torn his ACL, laying there like on his
which he
stomach,
has a
holding
history
it.
of doing, by the way. Like we know he I don't think he embellishes it necessarily, but some people just display their pain a little more than others. And Janai has proven over the time. So hopefully he's okay. I have a whole rant. You'll have to listen to the pod later at the end because I have a whole rant. I was dying the last 4 minutes, not only with the refs, but like how poorly we closed this game. It drives me nuts. It's so unintelligent and it puts people at risk for stuff like that. And it drives me crazy. I can't stand it.
Well, Matt's alluding to it, but I'm about to head out here. I wasn't planning on coming on tonight, but we wanted to get. Oh, Matt still has more he needs to
Last
talk to me
thing I
about.
have to
Okay.
ask you before you leave, give us your thoughts. It's the Flanagan return on Saturday.
I literally the chemistry, Matt. We got the chemistry that the same as the best. I was literally gonna say I got to talk real quick that our next one is against Ole Miss with Flanagan. I watched them play against LSU beforehand just to see what they were up to. They lost LSU on the road, so that team we blew out at home. They beat them, and I don't think anybody thinks Ole Miss is that great, but they were back in the top 25 again. It'll be a top 25 matchup, which is fun, even though I'm sure they're going to drop out unless they pull off a win against us. They're going to come in hungry. I don't know what Coach Flanagan is going to tell them. I'm sure he's going to have a great scout for them because he
Mm-hmm,
knows every single player so well, other than the new guys, even some of the new guys maybe. And then Flan is going to want to show off. The
mm-hmm.
big like thought, I think I saw somebody else, some people tweeting and stuff like, don't forget that Alan Flanagan graduated from Auburn University. Be nice or whatever. But man, if he starts going off on us, it's not going to be nice. It's just how it is. You can't go to our SEC like any other school, like outside of the SEC, any other school outside the SEC, even some different ones other than Ole Miss, even like something about it that just rubs me wrong that you would go to one of our teams that we play every year. So
There should be a little extra. I mean, and I think that's okay to embrace. Hopefully, we aren't like super trashy about it unless the game calls for
you
it. Like
you
I,
and you don't see the players. I mean, maybe we would never see this. I don't know. I feel like with Cambridge, maybe it was just vibes. They're like, okay, we're happy for him to go off, and
Mhm.
like the players seem to still be tweeting at him or like tagging him and some things and stuff. I don't see that with Flan. I don't see anybody on this team like interacting with him or being like, "Oh, we're excited to play him, our old friend." And maybe you'll see someone the game day, somebody
I
give him
think
a
you'll
high
see
five or
some in
something.
the
But
before the game and at the end. If Auburn wins, I think you'll see a lot of like friendliness. But
I think the players are going to have something extra for it. And I
I did
think it's a
too.
Neville Arena. I still think we have a chip on our shoulder. I think it's going to be a big hype game. I think the fans are going to make it hype too. I think they're
Oh, this
just as
is
excited
Bruce.
as us.
This is Bruce territory. This exact thing is exactly what he wants in the middle of the conference schedule. Something to just have a little of their attention, just a little more being at home because he's made it clear. And I'm very curious to see what he says about it going into this game because he made it very clear that he wanted Alan Flanagan back, and they left. And whether that's him putting stuff on them, we may never know the full story, but I guarantee you there will be a little extra, and I think it'll be a great game Saturday.
I think if it went in the combo too of the dad and the son leaving for another coach that's kind of going to be a rival probably in the
Chris
SEC, Chris
Beard,
Beard
yeah,
is going to
exactly.
be he's going to be a good coach. He took Texas Tech to the Final Four, then went to Texas and had them good too. But he's also one of the most hateable coaches in college basketball. If you don't know about this, I don't care. We're not like some professional blah blah blah. He got accused of beating his wife at Texas. That's why he's at Ole Miss, and she recanted and now he's at Ole Miss. Not that our school's perfect or anything either, but like very hateable. He also left Texas Tech. One of the very hateable moves. Also, he took them in the Final Four. Proved that would be like Bruce leaving for Kentucky or Bruce leaving for not even Kentucky. Someone I don't even know who to say. Florida probably maybe. Texas is probably a lot like Florida now. To think about it. So that hurts pretty bad. Don't leave your school like that when you've proven you could take them to the Final Four. So very hateable. Looking forward to that game. It's a night game on a Saturday in Neville Arena. We will be live after the game recording the podcast. So I'm gonna head out, Matt, and tell them all about the Nashville experience.
I
Tell them
will.
about Jalen. Tell them about the refs.
Could you see what I'm talking about with CBM a little bit tonight? Now that we're identifying him as a defender, did you see it just a couple times?
That he
Him
gets blown
defending?
by.
No, he gets beat through. He gets bullied.
Yeah. No,
He,
there's a couple moments they've really ISOing him as the guy they were going to drive on for
that's
sure.
what I can't wait. Him and Flanagan, that's the matchup. And
I mean, I
that's
saw I saw Flan against LSU back down a couple guys because Flan is still a pretty big guy for the three
Mhm.
position. So I'll be really curious about that. I think we'll have that something ready for him for sure. He's also much longer though, and this is another situation which is so annoying that they got him just as they got rid of the charge rule. So if you want to talk about that with Ole Miss fans, or you got somebody like, and he does go off, they got him as soon as his Achilles heel was taking away as a rule. That would for years it was frustrating to watch Flanagan play. And there was a couple moves he like maybe I'm overwatching it, but even against LSU, there's a couple moves, a couple drives. It's like that was a lot of control. That back down, all that guy needs to do is set his feet, and that back down wouldn't happen. But you're now allowed to like just bump straight into that guy, and they'll call a block.
Well, cool, man.
Anyways,
Thanks for hopping on.
War Eagle, we're having fun out here. One last thing from the chat. We got people in the YouTube chat. Farmer Dad is in. Mr. Beautiful's in. Pocket Watch is in. Ben is in there and says that's the first win in 10 wins, I believe. That's what he said, right? Something like that. Yeah, we hadn't won there in 10 matchups or something like 10 losses in a row at Vandy. We're getting the monkeys off our back. That's what he said.
No way. Is that true?
I
Oh,
don't know. I don't know. But y'all, you hash it out, everybody. I'm leaving you with in good hands with Matt.
yeah. Get
War
ready
Eagle.
for solo time. Um, Thanks, Jackson. So, yeah, great to be there, man. I already said this, but just fun. Auburn people just continue to show up for this team on the road. It's great to see the witnesses, as Bruce says, even in the snow and the weather that's been going on this week. It was a great game, and a lot of good Auburn people. It was pretty for how few people were there. Felt like it was felt pretty loud at times when it needed to be. When you start out 7-0, you're kind of as a fan base deciding, okay, do we need to yell in this game? Do we need to be into this? And then, there were a few points in the game where we did. Again, just don't take for granted an easy win at Vanderbilt. I mentioned that we won every single stat, every shooting stat from every point in the floor, turnovers, points off turnovers, rebounds, second chance points, bench points, points in the paint, fast break, blocks, assists, steals. So just all across the board. Honestly, the only reason this game was remotely close is because the refs decided to call literally any contact in the second half against Auburn. It became comical, but very frustrating because not only does the margin matter in the metrics, which I was stressed about, but also it just puts your guys in dangerous positions. And, if we're up 20 or 30 on that Janai Broome drive, he's not in the game. He's just not. And you can argue maybe Bruce should have had him out already by that point anyway. But, hopefully he's fine. But that was frustrating to me. And then Auburn, just in general, can we please just learn to dribble out the shot clock at times late in the game? Because it just extends the game and there's more possessions. There's more times you can get hurt. There's just a lot of stuff that can go poorly. And I just didn't think we did a good job of that. But if that's your biggest complaint in a road game, things went very well. And I just want to touch on, some of these players. We have to brag about Jalen. He's the only player I've ever watched who could score 21 points on 7 shots. I mean, he's the only one. He only takes good looks. He shares the ball incredibly well. Great to go 7 of 7, hit both of his threes. They're both wide open. Jackson mentioned in our chat how great it is on the road just to hit the open threes, which is just hit your percentage of the open ones, and that makes a huge difference. And we did that tonight. 5 of 5 at the line. That's for Ben. Hit the most free throws on the team. Oh yeah, throw in 8 rebounds. Oh yeah, lead the team in assists with 3, 1 turnover. He had, I didn't know he had a turnover. So they called the worst phantom foul on him with like a minute or 2 left in the game that made no sense. And I thought it was giving him like his first negative, his first foul or turnover, and I was freaking out. You can imagine me in the stands watching that. But just an incredible game. Good defender, just the passing. I think every time I see Jalen in person, he throws 2 or 3 passes a game. They're just incredible for a guy his size. And obviously, he was hitting everything tonight. I was really glad he didn't shoot again because A, that's very Jalen to not go for 30 points or 40 points or anything. B, I just think it's really cool that he didn't miss a single shot. I don't recall ever seeing somebody score that many points and not miss anything from the field, from 3 or from the free throw line. So super cool for him. Cool for me, just selfishly. Everybody who listens to this pod knows how much I love his game. And he just continues to battle. Jackson was coming into the game saying that it would be very surprising if Jalen scored 20 points. And then Ben and I were quickly correcting him how often he's been scoring 20 points lately. I'm actually going to look this up right now because I'm at the controls and I want to see what his average is up to because he has been scoring on quite a tear. So bear with me here just a second. Really just happy with how he's playing. And just fun to watch. Again, I think he's a great example of the ball moving and how well we're sharing the ball in general. And he just makes the right play. That's what I've always liked about Jalen on both ends. He just makes the right play. And it's great to see him get rewarded with such a great performance. So let's see here. Points. So now Jalen is second on the team, averaging 12.5. Okay, so that's a little lower than I thought. But Broome is leading the way at 15.4, and then Aiden is barely above 10. And then Chad Baker's are at 9.5. So Jalen's really solidified himself as that second scorer on this team. So kudos to Jalen. I could brag about him a lot, but great MVP. Great to get us to 4-0 in the SEC. We didn't touch on this yet, but it's Auburn and Alabama, the only undefeated teams in the league right now. They won last night. Great to match that win. They have to go to Knoxville Saturday, and then Auburn plays Ole Miss at home. So it's really an opportunity because we have to go to Tuscaloosa next week. Good opportunity if we can take care of business against Ole Miss at home, and then you might root for the Vols. Honestly, either way, right? Tennessee loses or Alabama loses, but it would be nice to get a game up on Alabama before we have to go to Tuscaloosa next week. So let's see. I mentioned KD, pretty bad offensive game from him, but again, he only shot 4 times. And he's not shooting us out of games, which I love. He's playing his role well, still defending. I totally agree with what Jackson said about him being the captain defensively. I think he is single-handedly responsible for bringing Chad Baker-Mazara along and caring about the defensive end. KD cares about everybody locking in on their assignment and getting stops and getting out in transition. And I think he does a great job with that second unit when he's out there of kind of being the veteran leader. So credit to him for that. Aiden Holloway got really hot, hit a couple threes in a row in the first half and helped us build that lead. 2 for 6 from three. Had some foul issues, some really weird fouls on him. But overall, he continues to be really solid, him and Trey. I guess I'll go ahead and talk about Trey. Not his best game either with 3 turnovers, but hit a three, 5 points, 2 rebounds. Got his pocket picked. It's weird at Vanderbilt because Bruce is on the baseline, and I think a couple of times he got caught. He's trying to hear or see the play call behind him. And honestly, Vanderbilt did a good job of pressuring the ball there. But solid point guard play, nothing crazy special. Like I said, I would have liked them to close the game a little better, a little more under control, but I'm sure that's something they'll work on. Chad Baker-Mazara, he's been so good in the first and third SEC games of the year. Second and fourth, he's been, not non-existent, but no rebounds for him. He continues to he's just not a physical presence. He got beat up a couple times on defense too. Couple turnovers for him, but he did have 3 assists as well, 5 points, hit a couple shots, hit a three. I think he's kind of a guy. A lot of people are trying to make him this NBA prospect and the guy who can really just raise our standard. I just don't think we're going to get that every night from him. But he is the guy on this team that it's just an added bonus. If he's going to go for 15 points, I mean, in addition to all these other weapons Auburn has, good luck. Because I really think, yes, he's a great offensive threat with that second group coming in. I don't know. To me, it's almost like found money in a way when he goes off like that. I don't expect that from him. And he doesn't have to be that to be a really effective player on this team. He continues to try hard on defense. I think he loves playing on this team. I think he's really happy with the choice he made to come to Auburn. And honestly, it worked out pretty well, I think. Auburn missed on some of these guys in the transfer portal that were maybe ahead of him on our list. And I'm not so sure this isn't the best fit for this roster. Still a long way to go. Still want to see more consistency from him, but I do think he can continue to get better. People forget before JUCO, he played at San Diego State as the sixth man, and they were in the tournament. And so he's been in some spots before. I just think the SEC size is a little different for him to adjust to. Dylan Cardwell, we mentioned, great night. My dad and I were talking about how he is so good now. He's really mastered the verticality principle. He goes up. He skies for these rebounds. He gets way up there. He's great at blocking shots, and even if he doesn't block it, just getting straight up so he doesn't get as many foul calls. And 4 for 4 from the line. I mean, he just looks so good. All those shots look good. There were no lucky ones in there. And just rebound. I mean, 12 and 6 in 15 minutes. Incredible efficiency. You can make an argument he made some of the biggest plays of the game. And if it wasn't for Jalen just having an otherworldly night, he's probably your MVP. So great to see him producing like that. I talked about Janai being really quiet. It's amazing you can be quiet with 15 and 12 in the SEC. He is such a solid player. He's so crafty with what he does. I think there's always room to improve. And when somebody's this good, you can start to nitpick certain things that maybe he's not quite a step late here, maybe not always fully there defensively as quickly as he could be. But man, he gives this team a lot. Chris Moore continues to struggle. It's been a theme. Missed another layup on a great flex cut today. But then he hit a long jumper, and you could tell the bench was really engaged with that. This team loves Chris Moore. The coaches talk about him. The players talk about him. He's a leader. They want him to at least get going and be a productive player. So maybe hitting that long two. It looked like it was going to be a three. It's focused on the line. Maybe that'll unleash something for him. So yeah, he's continuing to start halves, and that's about it. So that's something to track. Lior played his rotations in each half, had 5 points, hit a couple free throws, got fouled a couple times, and hit an open three. His only shot of the night. So great to see from him. Chaney Johnson, no points. Only guy actually out of the 11-player rotation that didn't score. 3 fouls, 1 rebound, missed 2 shots. So not much for him, but he did contribute 11 minutes. So Jalen playing 26 to 28, 29 minutes. That's about right. We just don't want him to have to play 35 like he had to that other game. So great all around. Honestly, it's one of those games that it could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse. And the fact that it wasn't, I think says a lot about, this group and their potential. So 4-0 in the SEC, moving forward, I'm going to check the chat real quick before we wrap up and just make sure we're not leaving anybody out. I know it's a late night. Sorry, we didn't quite get to do live right after the game. Let's see. Where did we miss off? I'm going back through the comments here. Man, y'all been busy. Let's see. Ben wants us to boo Flan every time he touches the ball. That could happen, actually. I could see that. Bruce Pearl, I'm Pocket Watch mentioned. I'm very curious about how Bruce talks about that this week. And he said he expects Flan to get a welcome that an Auburn alumni deserves. Janai is going to have his knee looked at. Thanks, Mr. Beautiful. For whatever point you said was great. Shout out to you for that. Jalen's averaging 15 plus in this 10-game win streak. Ben has become a statistician that I can appreciate. He's great. Can't wait for Denver and Aiden to find their offensive identities with the team. Mr. Beautiful makes a good point. I was talking to a friend about Denver, and I think he's just the victim of this idea of like when you have 11 guys, there's not a lot of shots. There's one basketball, right? And Denver is defending really well. I think he's going to have some games where he hits some big shots for us. Like I really do. I think he's still one of our top 5 3-point shooters, I think, on this team. Last time I checked, he's just not getting a ton of shots. And Bruce said kind of after the last game, he really complimented his defense against Wade Taylor and some of these guys that we've played recently. But it is interesting, and Aiden finding his way. I've been so impressed overall with Aiden's willingness to pass, defer, use his teammates. His look ahead passes. He got picked off once today, but man, he throws some beautiful. Right when we get a rebound, he's out and running and looking, which is exactly what you want from your point guard. Trey does a good job with that too. So I think Aiden's actually selling pretty well. The question is Aiden capable of having a big explosion? I think he is with his shot creation. So definitely something to watch for there. And hopefully Mr. Beautiful's right that Chris Moore will hit his stride. I think that would be great for this team as well. If he can just be a solid contributor. Again, we don't need him to shoot a ton. Just defend, get some rebounds, and make your open layups. Like that's really all we're looking for. So shout out to this team, man. It was a lot of fun to watch them. 4-0 in the SEC, tied for first with Alabama. We love to see all those things. Yeah, Ole Miss is going to be fun. So definitely be ready for that one Saturday night. Hopefully we can keep that momentum going. And man, that environment and that matchup with Alabama next week in Tuscaloosa is going to be big, regardless of what happens on Saturday. But, especially in a scenario where Auburn wins, Alabama wins, this is going to be a matchup that, at least from a rankings perspective and from a national perspective, I don't know if Auburn, Alabama, it's been a long time if it's been a top 10 matchup, which I guess Alabama's not going to be, because they're barely ranked or even not ranked. But Alabama has potential, and if you look at the metrics, they're dangerous. And there's a reason they're 4-0 in the league, and I'm really curious to see how they handle Knoxville on Saturday. So anyway, thanks for letting me ramble about Jalen and about beating Vanderbilt here in my hometown of Nashville. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to all of you who were there. Always great to see keep traveling to these road games, man. It makes a difference, and the team really feeds off it and appreciates it. You can tell that it matters to them as well. So until Saturday after the Ole Miss game, War Eagle, thanks for listening to the Jungle Podcast.